We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. If you want to donate, support this channel through a donation, this Rebel Outpost, just hit the $sign where you make a comment and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Everybody, and I mean everybody, is welcome into the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. We have got a stacked show today, and I want to apologize for yesterday. We gave it 2 tries to do a live show. One lasted, I think, 40-some minutes, and the second show lasted maybe 3 minutes. At first, I thought it was a YouTube issue, but it turned out to be an internet issue, not on my part, so all we can do is pray that we can get a live show off the ground and have it go to completion because it is an absolutely stacked show. We are going to talk about the latest buzz heading into tomorrow's Dallas, the summit meeting of the Power Four conferences. And everybody else. We're also going to be talking about the Greg the Gold's way too early not top 25, way too early college football playoff predictions. Now, this is my way too early. Now, this is not my official Greg the Gold prediction. That is going to come about in August. I got to see what happens with injuries, late portal movement after spring football. So this is not my official predictions. This is my way too early predictions. I'm going to let you all in. I'm going to let you all in into the mind. This is going to be scary for all of you or most of you. I'm going to let you trickle into the mind of Greg the Gold, what he's thinking this early in February. Now, if you look at the title screen, whoops, that's not the title screen. If you look at the title screen, you can see what I am predicting way too early. We're going to get into it. I'm going to give you my reasons why. I'm not going to just show you the bracket. I am going to go in deep, not too deep, not really deep at all, but I'm going to get into it with every one of these programs, why they are going to make it to the playoffs. But first, we've got other things to discuss. The summit that is going on, I'm going to go through Bill Conley's. He put out an article. He does this every year, talking about returning production coming back. We're going to quickly go through those rankings. First, we're going to start the show off by, I guess I got a comment. I guess I got a comment about the Monty Show. The Monty Show. Because I have been given what the Monty Show, their blockbuster news, I have been, my DMs are full of the Monty Show. Exclusive bombshell report. Now, I've listened to it more than once because I was trying to figure out what is it exactly is the bombshell report. Because the more you listen to it, the more confused I am on what the Monty Show exclusive bombshell report. I don't understand a word of it. I don't understand a word of it. Let me know if you can explain it to me. We are going to start off with that just for some entertainment purposes only. I want to thank Bill G for his incredible generosity once again. 5 gifted memberships. Kenneth, Dr. L. Smith, Joyful 1, Hidden Hawaiian, Michigan Sports 3666. You've all been gifted a membership by the incredible generosity of Mr. Bill G. All of you. All of you are knighted Cloak and Dagger. Congratulations to becoming members of our channel. You can go to our library and watch the early peak Cloak and Dagger episodes for members only, and all the episodes that are available to everybody. There's over 400 of those. If you want to go back in time, go check out episode 22. Episode 22. That was done in August of 2022. Where we go through all the tweets that we put out there back in the day, breaking the news of USC to the Big Ten. That's just one of those big episodes that we have done in the past. Go and enjoy it. Go on into our library and check it out. Also, thank you, Bill G, for your incredible generosity. Thank you so very much. Preston from Greensboro, North Carolina, Greg the Gold, and Yakety Sax Music. All right, I'll take it. I don't know what that is, but I'll take it. Thank you for the super chat. Preston from Greensboro, thank you so much for your continued incredible generosity, helping us keep the lights on here at College Football's Peek Around the Corner. Thank you so much, Preston from Greensboro. I'm very humbled by all of your support. All of your support. And it's a lot. Absolutely a lot. Okay. So the Monty Show. I don't know what's... I'm not going to play it. I'll probably get in trouble. First of all, just let me thank everybody who's come on in. Steel Austin, Richard L., Jose J. Go Blue, Richard Greenswold, Preston from Greensboro, W.V. Jim, West Virginia, Caleb, Ramirez, Lee Go Gators. Look, I will say this. I've got the Gators. Doing pretty good. Pretty good. And we may have to make some adjustments as we swing into the summer months. But for right now, I don't have the Gators making it to the playoffs. I don't think I'm going to have the Gators making the playoffs in August. But there's a chance. Legway, there's a chance I might change my mind. Bob Swanger, Sammy Hammond, CFB Plus. What a lovely graphic. Thank you so much. CFB Plus, the artist known as CFB Plus, the man who made the graphics for me. Thank you, CFB Plus. Once again, he made Greg the Gold graphics. And now he's made my way too early college football playoff prediction graphics. There is a rumor out there that CFB Plus, when he saw my predictions, when I forward him my predictions so he could kindly make this beautiful graphic, he slid off his chair. He could not believe the absolute incompetence of Greg the Cooler with these predictions. But it did not stop him. He made the graphics for me, and I do appreciate it. We're going to go through all that. Shakur, Greg is drinking too much Klubnik and Nussmeier. Kool-Aid. You might be right. Or you may be wrong. Vox Quindaro, good afternoon. Flugarians, Charlie Atwood is in the house. Jared Jones is here. Mr. Buckeye is here. Opie, we are live, but for how long? Good question. Very good question. The Observer is in the house. Michael Bias is here. Rock and Rant is here. Dante's Infernal Purgatory is in the house. NEA2. Yes, we've got Northern Illinois, all their sports, except for a couple of them going to the Horizon League. Not much of a surprise there. Tumasta is in the house. Stormy Cyclones. Holy smokes, we are doomed after seeing that graphic. Come on, man. Come on, Stormy Cyclone. You gotta have faith. You gotta have faith. Tide Guy is in the house. The Monty doesn't even know what he says. I'm gonna need help because I don't quite. We're gonna talk about at the start of the monologue, Tide Guy, but I don't even understand what he said. So I shouldn't respond to it, but my DMs are full of the Monty Show, the Bombshell Report. And I listened to it, and I thought maybe I had it figured out. Then I listened to it again. And I'm completely confused what the Bombshell Report is all about. Breeze Frey is in the house. Joy for one. Did I miss anybody? I apologize. Jay Chapman, Nebraska Duck, Tennessee. I was looking forward to watching that. Yeah, I don't need to go into that. Jackson Johnson is in the house. Edward the Auburn Tiger. Let's go. Okay, let's go. First of all, let's talk about the Monty Show. And correct me if I'm wrong. And if you don't want to correct me if I'm wrong in the chat room, do it later in the show when we open up the phone call. Say, Greg, that is not what he was saying. Because I do not want to incorrectly report what the Monty Show is reporting. Because they did that to me. Holy smokes. And then I confronted them on X and said, I did not say what you said I said, and they never responded. That was that whole Kansas and the SEC. All that we reported, all the repeat that we gave on that, if and when the SEC goes to 20 teams, and if Kansas is available at that time, Kansas looks like they're going to be one of the candidates. Doesn't mean they're going to be an SEC member, but we have gotten, other people have gotten the same, like Kansas is up there in the SEC candidates list if the SEC gets to 20, and if they do, and if Kansas is available. And then the Monty Show says Greg Pflugar is reporting that Kansas and SEC are having talks, and we are telling you all that they're not having talks. We did not say they were having talks. In fact, we would say the opposite. In fact, we will stay consistent with that logic and say that there is no talks going on for an expanded Super League. So let's backtrack. The Monty Show, it sounds like he is reporting that the SEC and the Big Ten have had substantial talks, discussions with each other, I guess, in expanding with the ACC or the Big 12. It got confusing because I don't know if he meant some of the schools or all the schools of the ACC and the Big 12. It got confusing during his exclusive. He said this might be funded or done with private equity. There may be some G5 schools. There's the grant of rights that would be expensive, but then maybe they could get around it by creating a different entity to get out of the NCAA. Getting out of the NCAA does not eliminate the grant of rights. I don't know what he said, to be honest. Before, the Monty Show, months ago, kept saying that they believed that the Super League was happening. The 72 or the whatever variations was out there. And I got to be honest, we've been down that rabbit hole so many times. And the only answer we've gotten back here at College Football's Peek Around the Corner is that if there was ever a Super League, it would be created by the SEC and the Big Ten. That they're not going to join in a bigger effort. They're going to be the bigger effort. But that ain't going to happen for years down the road if it happens at all. Again, we are in the middle of substantial change. We've got this NCAA House settlement happening. We got this college football playoff. What's going to happen in 2026 and beyond? We've got the SEC and the Big Ten. We have got the SEC and the Big Ten acquiring so much power, governance power. They were able to get the distribution model in favor of them. They're able to change the college football playoff format for 2026 and beyond, except for a couple of exceptions, one being the top 5 ranked conference champions get an automatic berth, and Notre Dame has some protections. But other than that, Big Ten and the SEC, if they come to agreement, they can change everything when it comes to the college football playoff. They have got all this power. They've acquired all this power, and they're going to use all this power. I don't like it. I like the playoffs that we have now. But here at Peek Around the Corner, we've been the Paul Revere. Last September, we had a live show saying that the Big Ten wants a radical change of 4 automatic qualifiers. And we think they're going to get it. We think they're going to get it. And we're going to get into why we think they're going to get it here in a few minutes. But you know, the Big Ten and the SEC, even with all this power, is being so very careful with their language. They're kind of saying, well, we really don't have it figured out yet. You know, we kind of looking at this, we're kind of looking at that. The Big Ten, they want the 4 automatic qualifiers. The SEC, yeah, maybe, possibly, but we're looking at this. Sankey's basically saying, we don't know. We don't know. We really don't know. We got to talk to the ACC and the Big 12 first before we let out public what we kind of possibly want. They're being so careful legally, that they don't want to even put out the impression of collusion. So to be having these talks about a super league, I do not believe it's happening. Nobody I talked to has ever had a whisper that it's happening. There has been a whole lot of big money knocking on the door trying to come in to create a super league. But we don't believe the Big Ten and the SEC have any interest in creating a super league. They are dealing with their issues inside their conferences. There's so much change going on right now. That would be the biggest, most mass. I don't think they can handle it. In fact, one of the big reasons why we're probably going to have a pit stop at 14-team playoffs instead of going straight to 16, and it's because going to 16 is going to be more heavy work for these commissioners, and they don't want to take on anything more. It's probably why we're going to go to a pit stop of 14, because all the 14-team playoff format, distribution, and everything else is already settled with ESPN. So I do not believe, if I understand what the Monty Show, what they're saying, if I understand what they're saying, I'm not buying it for a moment. Now, I would take the big L. Now, supposedly I have been told here that they're going to come out with more details tomorrow. I will listen to it. Whatever that is, and we'll take it from there, because I did not understand what they were saying today. I do not believe the SEC and the Big... First of all, you know what? I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole anymore, because I do not want to misrepresent what the Monty Show was saying today. And I was highly confused what they were saying. So I'm going to leave it as that. And if later on, if you want to go call me later on in the show, correct me, go ahead. Expedition Greg, go Buckeyes. What's up, Greg? Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Expedition Greg, a member for 15 months. Holy smokes. Can you imagine being a member of this Rebel Outpost channel for 15 months? My goodness. You are officially knighted cloak and dagger. Now, let's talk about something that we talked about here at Peek Around the Corner. I think it was 2 live shows ago. So if you did not watch it, you go back into our library. It wasn't yesterday's fiasco. It was the day before or the day before that. The second or third live show from now. We gave you the peek around the corner. Here at College Football's Peek Around the Corner, we gave you all a peek of what the SEC was asking for in return from the Big Ten. They have been in negotiations. The title of this show is The Big Ten and SEC Trading Favors Back and Forth. And they are. One of those favors that the Big Ten is asking for a lot. The Big Ten is asking for, look, we want 4 automatic qualifiers. They've been asking for that for months. They came out radical. They came out pushing that last September. We gave you the peek around the corner on that. The SEC wants security. The Big Ten wants security. They've got the power. They've got the money. They've got the exposure. They're going to have all the governance. But now they want security. The Big Ten wants to have security. They want to have certainty for their media partners. They want 4 automatic qualifiers. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the numbers say that the Big Ten would get 4 automatic qualifiers 99 out of 100 times. They want certainty so they can schedule it. They can schedule the certainty into their schedule so they can have 3 or 4 play-in games, however they want to manage that. They want certainty. The SEC wants something. They want that scheduling agreement. They want more money coming from ESPN, their media partners. But what the SEC really wants, and we talked about it a couple of days ago here at Peek Around the Corner, and we told you in the next couple of days there's going to be an article put out talking about it. What happened? It happened today. It happened today. Ross Dellinger. Do college football coaches think new enforcement arm will work? LSU's Brian Kelly, it is not a slap on the wrist. As we told you a couple of days ago, the SEC wants, I think it's called the Deloitte, right? Deloitte. Am I mispronouncing that? The Deloitte Clearinghouse, the enforcement arm. They want this to be tight. They want this to work. They want this to be legit. If the SEC is going to do all this, they do not want some programs out there outside of the SEC, outside the Big Ten, to be able just to ram a gigantic hole into the rev share, into collectives outside of rev share, where they have to pass the clearinghouse. We talked about this, ladies and gentlemen, 2 live shows ago, or 3. This is what the SEC wants. And today, Ross Dellinger, finally someone puts an article on it. Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Brian Kelly entered last week's joint meeting with the SEC athletic directors, immediately skeptical of major college football's new enforcement entity. He left convinced that it would work. There will be real enforcement, the LSU head coach told Yahoo Sports in an interview last week. It will be across the board, consistent enforcement with severe sanctions. They will be quick. They will be swift. I think everybody is on board with that. Well, who met last week? The SEC and the Big Ten. I'm telling you, the SEC and the Big Ten, cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger advisory. We told you late last week, or it was the weekend, that this is what the SEC wanted. They wanted complete support from the Big Ten, and they got it. And they got it. The new Power Conference-led enforcement entity, an LLC with a yet-to-be-named CEO, is poised to implement significant penalties for those violating a variety of revenue share-related rules, including a restriction in the number of transfers a program can add, millions in financial fines, a reduction in a team's future rev share pool, and a multi-game suspensions for the coaches. These are only ideas and concepts under discussion. Yeah, under discussion between the Big Ten and the SEC advisory. But they were shared with coaches and athletic directors last week in meetings in New Orleans as Power Conference leaders work to create this nameless, non-NCAA enforcement entity. Yahoo Sports first reported details about the entity on February 6th, but more specifics are emerging. Under the landmark House Settlement Agreement, schools will be permitted to share $20.5 million in revenue annually with athletes under a cap system with built-in escalators. The revenue sharing concept is expected to begin July 1st if we get that final approval. April 7th, leaders are socializing particulars of one of the most important aspects of the House settlement-related provision permitting schools to share revenue directly with athletes, the enforcement arm. This is what we talked about just a couple days ago. This is what the SEC wants. If they think they're going to get this, if they think that this is going to be nailed down, hell, they're going to give the Big Ten 4, and they're going to get 4, and they're going to agree on so many other things. But this is the SEC's priority. The coaches, the athletic directors, and Greg Sankey. Will all of this actually be policed? Suspensions are on the table. Fines. It is not a slap on the wrist. That was made clear, Kelly told Yahoo Sports in an interview from his office Thursday. Other coaches and administrators shared details of the enforcement entity as well. A transition team of athletic directors and general counsels from the Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, ACC, Pac-12 are establishing new rules around the revenue sharing concept, as well as penalties for violating those rules, such as those found to have exceeded the annual rev share cap. Don't go over the cap. Payments directly from the athletic department to your student athletes do not go over the cap. Those tampering, listen to this. Again, this is what the SEC wants, and this part, the Big Ten wants it. Those tampering with players under contract at other schools and those circumventing the cap by using boosters to compensate athletes, supposedly they're going to get nailed. Those exceeding the cap will endure financial fines of 3 to 5 times the amount that has been exceeded and could see their following year's total rev share pool reduced by the exceeded amount. For example, if a school exceeds the cap by $1 million, they could be fined as much as $5 million. It's not a 1-for-1. It could be a 1-for-5. Plus, its pool for 26-27 would be reduced by $1 million. But perhaps there's even a stiffer penalty under discussion. The new enforcement arm may reduce the amount of transferred players that a school could add to its roster, Multiple coaches and administrators confirmed to Yahoo Sports. Now, there's no doubt that people are going to go to the courts. There's no doubts that people are going to go to the courts when it comes to all this, especially limiting the amount of transfer players. Why would this new governing body have this legitimate power to enforce all these rules? Well, that is where I think Sankey and Petitti are hoping that a Hail Mary bomb thrown to Congress, thrown to Ted Cruz and Cory Booker. Hopefully they're going to be able to establish a carve-out for this governing body to have legitimate control, legitimate enforcement. We shall see. Separately, administrators are finalizing details related to the new Deloitte-run clearinghouse tasked with evaluating name, image, and likeness compensation that athletes receive from third-party entities such as brands, businesses, also boosters. Deloitte, we've talked about them. And I don't want to get into anymore. We've got way more to talk about. But I think all of that is incredibly important to bring up. Because a couple days ago, we told you guys, we gave you the peek around the corner. This is what the SEC wants. And finally, a national reporter puts it out there. The SEC, if they can get that, because they don't, I know a lot of you, when I said this a few days ago, a lot of you said, oh, now the SEC wants to have strict enforcement. Yeah, because they don't want to lose their advantage. The Big Ten don't want to lose their advantage. They want to have strict control. They want that revenue share. Don't go above that rev share. And the clearinghouse has got to be strict. You can't be giving a player $1 million in NIL if you cannot get it through that clearinghouse. We'll see how all that works. But we gave you the peek around the corner, and Ross Dellinger delivered it. Absolutely delivered it. Go watch it. Ricky Tungate, just to help you out. Wow. Holy smokes. Massive super chat. Thank you, Ricky Tungate, for your incredible generosity. Mr. Hoosier, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. My goodness, Mr. Hoosier. Wow. Okay. Thank you so much, Ricky. SEC. Okay. Buckshot Kid. I subscribed to the Money Show 3 times and unsubscribed. I don't know. I don't watch them. Back in the day, like last year, I watched a little bit of them. I saw that they ripped me apart for something I did not say. Holy smokes. I know they're on this Super League stuff. They think it's going to happen. They've got some new bombshell report, and I don't understand what they're trying to say. Maybe tomorrow you guys can explain it to me better. The SEC just wants to play by the rules. The Observer. Okay, before we get into my way too early, Greg the Gold, way too early college football playoff predictions. I want to hit just real quick here. I want to hit the Bill Connelly. This comes out and he makes adjustments. This comes out all the time, every year. Every year we talk about it. Okay, Bill Connelly got attacked. He absolutely got attacked when he put this out there. He's just using a certain metric. He throws a bunch of metrics together. That's all he's doing here. So everybody relax. College football 2025 returning production for all of the 136 FBS teams. Yes, 136. We're going to have to get used to that number, 136, because of Missouri State and the Delaware Fighting Blue Hens. Early each off season, Bill Connelly spits out initial SP Plus projections based on a forever changing combination of returning production, recruiting, and recent history. As always, those projections stem from three primary questions. How good has your team been recently? How well has it recruited? And who returns from last year's roster? The SP Plus projections are still a few days away, and when it happens, when Bill Connelly releases, we are going to talk about it here at Peek Around the Corner. But let's deal with the last question first. Who returns a majority of last year's production? Who has done the best job of importing production from another team? Who is starting from scratch? For a few years now, I've been attempting to expand how we measure returning production. The formula I created shifts with each new year of data and has had to shift a ton with the rising number of transfers, but the gist remains the same. High or low returning production percentages correlate well with improvement or regression. They might not guarantee a good or bad team. There are no guarantees, but they can tell us a lot. And in 2025, they tell us a lot about the state of college football. Looking through a prism of returning production data of every FBS team, we'll break down how the percentage of returning players is trending, what the numbers mean for your favorite team, and which teams can expect to improve and which could regress in 2025. Here we go. Now, we're going to go through this real quick here. The first numbers, you see Northern Illinois at 23%. That is total returning production. The 25%, next to that 23%, is the offensive returning production. The 22% is the defense. So the defense is the last column. The offense is the middle column. The first column is total production, percentage production coming back. So Northern Illinois is 136 out of 136 returning. Washington State, 134. Rich Rod leaving Jacksonville State, 133. Marshall at 130. Look at Purdue. Barry Odom, new head coach, coming in, 127. Barry Odom leaving UNLV. UNLV, 129. UMass going into the MAC, 122. Memphis, 119. 39% of total production coming back, and you see they lose their big-time quarterback who's been the starting quarterback there for 4 or 5 years. Texas State Bobcats, they lost a lot. They're not going to be my prediction. I predicted them to be the G5 representative last year, but they've lost their quarterback. They lost their star running back. They've lost everything. Ole Miss, they lost a lot. I do not have Ole Miss in the college football playoffs. Way too early predictions. Now, I've got a thing going against Lane Kiffin. I think that team, that program, I think how he runs it is a little soft. So I'm not in no mood whatsoever to have Ole Miss in the way too early college football playoffs. UCLA 111. We've got Oregon, 109. Now, I do have Oregon making it. I have the Ducks barely making the college football playoffs. Just barely. Number 11, the last at-large team. And I'm telling you, a lot of it has to do with, well, the returning production coming back. Right? And then I've got Georgia. I've got Georgia making it as a 7th seed. They've only got 45% of the returning production coming back. Texas, 103. I've got them number 1. Ohio State, 101. I've got them, number 5, the defending, reigning, undisputed national champions. A lot of these great teams, they don't have much production coming back because they got a whole lot of guys going into the NFL draft, and then they're going to reload through their young studs that they've recruited, and of course the transfer portal. Excuse me. Hold on 1 second here. Hold on, everybody. We've got West Virginia, Rich Rod, new coach, 98. We've got Lincoln Riley, USC. Lincoln Riley, is this his 4th year? I don't remember. What year is it for Lincoln Riley? 46% of the production coming back. They've lost a lot of great wide receivers on that team. Unbelievable talent that they lost. Syracuse 90, Colorado 89, Washington 84, California loses their quarterback, Fernando Mendoza. He goes to Indiana. North Carolina 81. SMU 78, Kansas 76, Miami 75, UConn 74, the Gamecocks 71, Tulane 70, Iowa 65, Notre Dame 62, Louisville 60, Duke 59, Tennessee 58, Iowa State, another team that I got squeezing into the college football playoffs, at 55. Missouri, 51. Nebraska at 50, 60%. 68% of their offense is coming back. Production. TCU, 49. Florida State, 2-10 team. 61%, and maybe that's a little too high. Maybe you want that to be a little lower. Although it looks like they did pretty good in the portal. BYU 45. They got some guys coming back. Indiana got some guys coming back. Utah 41. Minnesota Golden Gophers 40. LSU 38. Alabama 35. 63% offense, 62% defense. Penn State 33, a whole lot of offense coming back. Katron Allen, Nicholas Singleton, Drew Aller. Number 29 is the Michigan Wolverines. Go Blue, 29. Pittsburgh 27. Georgia Tech, the Rambling Wreck, 26. Wisconsin's at 25. The Badgers going into that brutal schedule. But they got guys coming back. Houston, maybe Willie Fritz is going to see some more momentum. Late last season, you saw it with the Cougars. We may see it early in the Big 12 schedule. Auburn. I got to tell you, I've been flirting with Auburn. I have been flirting with Auburn. I let Edward the Auburn Tiger know that the last time he called in. This is one of the reasons why I like their receiving core. I think Jackson Arnold has a decent receiving core at Auburn. New Mexico State 21. Delaware, the Fighting Blue Hens, first year as an FBS. They're sitting there at 20. Arizona 16. Stanford 13. Cincinnati Bearcats 12. The 9-4 Baylor Bears. Sawyer Robertson sitting at number 11. And then the top 10. Oklahoma. Boise State. We're going to get into Boise State here. You know, they're losing Ashton Genty, their great running back, but my goodness, they bring the rest of their team back, and that's why I've got Boise State. I had to have them. In the way too early college football playoff predictions. Vanderbilt, 8. Rutgers, 7. A&M, 6. Kennesaw State, 5. The Texas Tech Red Raiders, 4. And you saw what they did in the portal. And Illinois, if you're in Big Ten country, you know that Illinois is bringing a whole lot back from the 10-3 season. Arizona State, number 2. Arizona State, number 2. Sam Levitt, Mr. Tyson, all coming back. They got a whole bunch of defense coming back. Arizona State, an eyelash away from beating the Longhorns in the playoffs. They got a lot of guys coming back. And the Clemson Tigers. Woo! Okay, so I wanted to make sure that we just went over that because that's part of the reasons, part of the logic that I used, just part of what I used to have my way too early college football playoff predictions for 2025. The Evil Badger, Ryan Willa. Do you think Manning will return for his senior year if Texas doesn't win at all? Well, I think Manning has a I correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's a red shirt sophomore next season. So I think he's got 2 years of eligibility remaining after this year. Do I think he's coming back next year? If he does, I don't know. Good question, but all I know is I want to see him play because, as you know, Evil Badger, I am the conductor on the hype train for Arch Manning. I do think he's the real deal Holyfield. With ESPN dropping Major League Baseball, could ESPN renegotiate their CFP contracts? Well, it's time for me to eat my bacon cheeseburger. Bacon, hamburger, good. Cheeseburger, bad. The Evil Badger, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate your generosity. I don't think ESPN is going to renegotiate. There's no reason why now, unless they get something back in return. Like, can ESPN renegotiate with the SEC? They're probably doing that right now in regards to the 9th conference game, in regards to a possible scheduling agreement between the SEC and the Big Ten. Sure, they're getting better content. Sure, they'll negotiate, but they're just not going to hand out their money, extra money that they're saving by not having Major League Baseball. I think they're going to reinvest. I don't know. Look, it's obvious that ESPN did not think that MLB content was of good enough value for what they were paying out. And it sounds like MLB didn't think ESPN was the right platform for them. But again, live content is king. And ESPN is going to replace in that content with something live sports. It ain't going to be all talk shows. So we shall see. Thank you, Ryan Willie. Appreciate the super chat so very much. So very much. Appreciate it. Still Austin, Greg, are you going to release your 2031 Super League predictions? No. Not going to get into that because people will say, Greg is reporting the following. RFR Mac, I don't know if I'm looking forward to tomorrow or not. Boise State's going to have a couple of running backs. It looks like it's going to be by committee. AR, Sun Devils, Dante's Inferno Purgatory. Oh, get that cheese off that burger. Okay, so let me explain before we get to your phone calls. Let me explain. Thank you, Ryan Willie, for your incredible generosity once again. And Mr. Tungate, Mr. Hoosier, Greensboro. Appreciate you all. I really do. Very humbled by it. Thank you. Let's get into the predictions. Now again, this is Greg the Gold. Greg the Gold. This is made way too early. Now, this is not my official predictions. But the train has left the station. And if there's going to be some adjustments, I got to see it in the spring camp. I got to see it in early August. I'm going to keep my eyes out on that portal, that spring portal. And of course, injuries, development. But this is Greg the Gold. This is the year I strike gold in my predictions. Here we go. Okay, let's not waste any more time. Let's not waste any more time. If you look down at number 12, the Boise State Broncos, the 12th seed. Genty is not coming back. He's going into the NFL draft. There was some news that just came out about Genty. He's going to do some stuff at the combine, some other things he's not going to do. Whatever. Genty's not coming back. But Boise State have Maddox Madsen, the quarterback, coming back. They've got pretty much their whole defense coming back. They've got the 4 starting offensive linemen coming back, including their best one. Boise State's got a whole lot of talent coming back. Now, I am willing to move Boise State out of number 12 and put somebody else in there. But I can't think of a team right now. I really can't. I really cannot. There is nothing there for me. I mean, Liberty don't have their quarterback. Texas State lost a lot of talent. UNLV lost everybody and their head coach. Everybody has lost everybody in the G5. Boise State seems to be the program who's kept the most talent. So for now, I am keeping Boise State at number 12. Number 11, if you go to the right side of the brackets, number 11, Oregon. They lost a ton. And now, how good is Dante Moore going to be this year? I got no idea. Do you have an idea? Let me know. Now, they've got the great wide receiver, Evan Stewart. Noah Whittington, great running back. They've got a bunch of linebackers coming back. Lanning, a great head coach, great program, a lot of talent. But I got Oregon barely squeaking in. Barely squeaking in. Into the playoffs. In fact, I only have 3 Big Ten teams in the tournament. Right now, in my way too early predictions. Now, look, if Underwood comes to camp at Michigan at Ann Arbor and he looks fantastic, okay, I'm changing this up, man. I'm going to change it up. If Fernando Mendoza, if Indiana going to make their move again, I mean, they've got the great Sarek, their wide receiver. They got a lot of guys coming back, Indiana. I might have Indiana in the playoffs. But for now, as I sit February 24th, I could only put 3 Big Ten teams into the playoffs. And no, I'm not anti-Big Ten. Iowa State, number 10. Boy, this was difficult. Iowa State, Oregon. Iowa State, Oregon. Iowa State, Oregon. South Carolina, BYU, Kansas State, Michigan, Indiana. Those were the bubble teams. Iowa State, Oregon, South Carolina, BYU, Indiana, Michigan. It was all... I got Iowa State. I mean, look, they got Rocco Beck coming back. They've got Carson Hansen, the running back. I hope Abu Sama... I was a little disappointed in him last year. Maybe he gets it going. They lose their 2 great wide receivers. They got that Townsend, the transfer from UCF. They got the kid from ECU. Hopefully, those wide receivers can make up some of the production. And they've got that linebacker, Mr. Bacon, coming back. So the Cyclones, I've got them number 10. I've got them getting in this year. But they're one of the bubble teams. They're one of the many bubble teams that I have. Now, when I get to number 9, I do not have them as a bubble team. I got Miami in. I am one of the biggest supporters of Carson Beck. I am. And I can tell that. The last couple of years, when we've been talking here, I'm a bigger Carson Beck fan than pretty much all of you. Last year, their wide receivers at Georgia were not good. I did not like how they ran their offense. Going to Mario Cristobal in Miami, they got that offense going. They got the returning running back, RB2, Mark Fletcher. He does a lot of important things for the Hurricanes. He might have a big year for the Hurricanes. Ruben Bain nicked up last year. Hopefully he has a big season on the defensive end. But they're going to have to get some wide receiver. They're going to have to hit it big with somebody. Maybe the C.J. Daniels transfer from LSU. That may have to hit for the Hurricanes. But I got them as number 9. Going to be a more balanced team. They got the great defensive coordinator from the Minnesota Golden Gophers, Coach Heatherman. They put some money in the portal for the defensive players. I think Miami's going to be a balanced team, and I think they're going to squeeze into the playoffs. Number 8, Notre Dame. I got them coming back. The great Jeremiah Love, number 4, the great running back, he's coming back. The latest I've heard on Jadarian Price, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure. I think Jadarian Price is coming back. Let me know in the chat room. Jaden Greathouse, we saw him emerge. The wide receiver, we saw him emerge in the college football playoffs. Finally, he's coming back. Drake Bowen, the linebacker, the great safety, that great Moore, the true freshman cornerback last year. They've got defensive players. Now the question is going to be the quarterback position. and Jelly, who emerged in the playoffs when he had to come in for Riley Leonard a few times, or C.J. Carr, who came in as a highly touted true freshman last year. Now he's going to be a redshirt freshman. And Jelly or Carr, and also something going to be interesting coming out of the transfer portal from the Evil Badgers, Will Pauling, a pretty good wide receiver who had crucial drops. I think he had some issues. He was nicked up a little bit last year. I'm not sure him and the head coach got along too well at Wisconsin. Whatever it is, Will Pauling, can he emerge for Notre Dame? Number 7. Number 7, I got Georgia. Gunnar Stockton, quarterback. We're going to need some improvement. We're going to need to see that improvement. And they got the running back who I love, who's now going to get the rock, Nate Frazier. Frazier is finally going to get the rock at Athens, Georgia. I'm going to be excited. I think Frazier has the ability to be a great SEC running back. Tight end, Mr. Delp is coming back. The second best freshman true safety in the country. KJ Bolden is coming back. Now, again, I have my doubts in the wide receiver room, right? They brought in Noah Thomas, Texas A&M. They brought in, from the transfer portal, Zachariah Branch, USC, and I was not a Zachariah Branch fan last year. I think he's addition by subtraction for Lincoln Riley in that football program. I think they're going to miss Deuce Robinson, but I don't think they're going to miss Zachariah Branch. That is my opinion. Is he going to emerge in Georgia? I have my doubts. For those reasons, I'm going to keep Georgia at number 7 for now. Easily in the playoffs, but maybe not in contention to win it all. Number 6, LSU, Brian Kelly. I'm not going to make the same mistake I did last year. I drove Nussmeier under the bus and I ran him over a few times. I'm not going to do that this year. Garrett Nussmeier proved that he's a legit top flight quarterback. I'm excited to watch him play. Now, hopefully, Nick Anderson, Barry Brown from Kentucky, some new wide receivers can get Nussmeier going. Hopefully, LSU can have a physical running game this year because they did not last year. They've got Caden Durham coming back, the running back. They've got Harold Perkins, the great linebacker, coming back once again. They picked up Florida State Seminole Patrick Payton, the defense end. They picked up some big guys in the portal. LSU, number 6 in the college football playoffs. Number 5, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, the Buckeye fans not happy with me. Or maybe they are happy with me. Maybe they are happy with me because I don't have them any higher. The Buckeyes, number 5, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Caleb Downs. A whole bunch of other guys coming back. The quarterback position, I think might be, we don't know, right? Julian Sayin, supposed to be the great quarterback. We're going to find out. Devin Brown and Aaron Nolan both went in the transfer portal. The interesting pickup from the Buckeyes is West Virginia Mountaineer running back C.J. Donaldson. I don't know if that's going to work. I don't know if that is going to work. C.J. Donaldson, to me, he's a better athlete than a running back. A big dude I think he was brought into college football, West Virginia at Morgantown. I think he was supposed to be a tight end. I might be wrong on that. They converted him to running back. He's a big, tough dude, but I don't know if that's going to work out. Again, we shall see. Arizona State number 4. And I think this is obvious. I don't know how you can't have Arizona State in your way too early playoffs. Did you watch Sam Leavitt last year? Did you watch him? Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. Jordan Tyson got injured. You remember? Remember the great wide receiver? He got injured. He couldn't even help out his team in the playoffs. But he's coming back. Kyson Brown, the running back, is going to try to take some of the Cam Scatterboo production, but then they got Udo from Army. Remember the Army great running back who went into the portal. He ran over 1,000 yards. It was a 2-man offense at Army, the running back and the quarterback. So, again, Arizona State bringing back pretty much their whole defense, a lot of their defense. Remember this list. Arizona State, number 2 in the country in returning production percentages. Number 3, Penn State, the Nittany Lions. Drew Aller, Katron Allen, Nicholas Singleton. Holy smokes. They got the center under Drew Aller. Nick Dawkins is coming back. The defensive end who emerged during the whole season and in the playoffs with sacks and interceptions and everything else. Dennis Sutton. Dennis Sutton is a monster. Wheatley, the safety, he was making tackles after tackles. They're all coming back. The wide receiver room, once again, it's down to the wide receiver room at Penn State. Drew Aller did not complete a pass to the wide receivers in their playoff loss. Devontae Ross from Troy. Kyron Hudson from USC. We watched Kyron Hudson. We watched him have a one-handed, incredible football catch during the season. He's got some talent. Penn State's going to have to make some plays downfield. They lose Tyler Warren, but Penn State number 3. Clemson number 2. I love the Clemson Tigers this year. Now, I love them, and they have question marks. I love them, and I don't know who their RB1 is going to be. I love them, and they're going to have to make quite a leap in defending against the run. But Cade Klubnik, I think, is ready to take off. Antonio Williams he was injured a couple years ago. He's ready to go. He is ready to go. Antonio Williams got some good action last year. Then they've got not the true freshman anymore, but he's going to be a sophomore. The wide receiver Wesco going to make big plays. Sammy Brown on defense. The running back situation. Again, Clemson is one of those teams. I've got them number 2. I could move them down. I could move them down to 4, 5, 6. Or I could move them up to number 1. But I got to figure out what their running back situation is going to look like in the spring and summer. But right now, I'm very high on Clemson. On Dabo Swinney and his Clemson Tigers. And number 1, I've got Texas. Not much to say about it. We're going to talk a lot of Texas Longhorn football. But you guys know how I feel about Arch Manning. If Arch Manning is a complete bust, and you guys are upset about the hype machine behind Arch Manning, you come to College Football Speak Around the Corner and you blast me. Because I am the conductor I'm the one that's running the train. Arch Manning is going to be a beast. Wisner's coming back, a shifty RB1 running back. Anthony Hill, the linebacker. Of course, they got the great defense and Colin Simmons. Not to mention Trey Moore is back. August 30th. August 30th. I think it's August 30th. I think it's Texas at Ohio State. And the reason why, look, the Buckeyes could be there at the end of the season. The Buckeyes could show their championship medal in that very first game at the Shoe. They could show us everything. But because it's going to be Julian Sands' first start in the first season as a starting quarterback, I got the Buckeyes number 5. I cannot get them to number 3 where Penn State is, number 2, number 1. I can't get there. But if their quarterback is the real deal, Holyfield, then the Buckeyes are going to be right there again, defending their national champion, and maybe they become the favorite. Maybe they become the favorite in the middle of the season. But to begin the season, I think that is the right time for Texas to play the Buckeyes. And if they get a big road win at Ohio State on August 30th, I think Texas is taking off, and I've got them winning it all. There is the big logo of the Texas Longhorns. Texas is your PATC way too early national champions. I've got Miami beating Notre Dame in the first round. I've got the Buckeyes beating Boise State. I've got LSU defeating Oregon. I've got Georgia over Iowa State. I've got Clemson beating Georgia in the second round. I've got Penn State defeating LSU in the second round. I've got the Longhorns defeating the Hurricanes in the second round. I got the Buckeyes over Arizona State in the second round. I've got Texas over Ohio State, Clemson over Penn State, the Texas Longhorns, your national champions, defeating the Clemson Tigers. So there it is, my way too early. We had to get it down, or it's not your way too early anymore. But we had to get it done before February ends, and we got it done. Kerry Gold knows, Greg, don't sleep on Florida State, as I think we will be way better than most expected. Thank you for the super chat, Kerry Gold knows. Appreciate it very much. Now, the Vegas over win total, or at least the one that I saw, has Florida State at 7.5. I'm going to have to look at that win total, look at their schedule, see how that works. I don't know. I got to say, I'm you know what? In a weird way, Thomas Castellanos going to Florida State is kind of like C.J. Donaldson going to Ohio State. Like, I think C.J. Donaldson's a pretty good running back. I think Thomas Castellanos is a pretty good quarterback, especially if your offensive line is suspect and you need that quarterback to make some plays using his legs and getting that third down. And you saw how Thomas Castellanos played against Florida State last year. But I don't know if he's the right quarterback to elevate Florida State into winning 9, 10, 11 games. So when I looked at the ACC, I got Florida State winning 8, 7 games. Could be wrong, and I might change it. I might change it, right? This is the way too early predictions. And I don't know who else they could have gotten that was better. Castellanos is a good dude. He's a hard player, but he doesn't have the highest ceiling. Now, there's no question about it that I can understand why Florida State went and got him because he played so good against Florida State. He's the opposite of DJ Ungole, right? He doesn't have feet of cement. He makes quick decisions. I just don't know if he's got a high enough ceiling. But then again, I don't know what the other options was for Florida State. We shall see. Thank you so much for your generosity, Kerry Go Knows. Appreciate it. Stormy Cyclone. Greg, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but only 2 teams have a tougher Big 12 schedule. Yes. So BYU and Kansas State and Texas Tech. Those were the next 3 teams in the Big 12. And I might fall in love with Kansas State. I mean, Avery Johnson had a pretty decent year last year. Really, he did. He might not have quite met my expectations, but for his first full year as a starter, he did pretty good. And they've got Dylan Edwards coming back, or I believe they do. And I believe Dylan Edwards lit the world on fire in that bowl game, and hopefully he gets his opportunity next year for Kansas State. I looked at Kansas State. I'm gonna take a deep dive back into Red Raider Nation, the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Gonna have to take another look at them. BYU is right there with Iowa State. The only difference is I like Beck better than, and I love the BYU quarterback. I'm a big supporter of him. He makes the plays. Retzlaff he's a fighter. He's Diego Pavia of Vanderbilt. But I like the ceiling of Rocco Beck. He can, but they need to strike gold in their wide receiver room. Anyways, so I got Iowa State just a little bit ahead of a lot of those bubble teams. Again, I've got Iowa State as a bubble team. I got them number 10. I got Oregon as a bubble team. I got them number 11. I got BYU as a bubble team, South Carolina as a bubble team, Michigan as a bubble team, Indiana as a bubble team. I don't have Louisville. I got Alabama as a bubble team. I don't have Mizzou. I don't have Tennessee. I got a lot of teams missing out of these playoffs. I got South Carolina as a bubble team. So anyways, we'll get into it. What is the breaking news? What is the breaking news? Somebody sent it to me in my the Stanford athletic director is expected to resign from his position. He's been the athletic director at Stanford for 13 years. What is the breaking news? Somebody sent it to me. The Big West is expanding. Is there an article about that? Let me know if there is an article. Send me a link if anyone's got a link. I am quickly looking through my I just don't see anything about a Big West expansion. Okay, Brett McMurphy, thank you, CFB Plus. The Big West will vote Friday to extend an official invitation to Cal Baptist in Utah Valley in 2026, sources said. Big West officials recently visited both campuses. Big West adding Cal Baptist in Utah Valley to replacing the party members Hawaii and UC Davis to the Mountain West, because as we know, all of Hawaii teams are now in the Mountain West Conference, not just the football program. So the Big West is adding to replace Hawaii and UC Davis. All right. Thank you, CFB Plus. I appreciate it. Not really football news, at least from what I covered, but WAC is on its deathbed. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, we are going to open up the phone lines. Opening up the phone lines. Let me know. Let me know what you're thinking here. College football. Let me know what you think about my predictions. Ross Dellinger's article we went over earlier on our live show, talking about how the SEC wants a strict enforcement arm, swift penalties, swift enforcement. The SEC wants it. 763-260-1333, 763-260-1333. Give us a call if you want to talk college football. If you want to disagree with everything I said about my way too early predictions, let me know. We talked about that. Northern Illinois is bringing its non-football sports. There's a couple sports that is not included because the Horizon doesn't cover everything that Northern Illinois has. But basically, almost all of Northern Illinois sports, the Huskies, are going to the Horizon League. So the Horizon League is back in to Illinois in the Chicago market. Yeah, I did see that Utah fired their head coach, basketball coach, Craig Smith. Craig Smith was on the Gophers hot board list a few years ago. Minnesota Golden Gophers. Hummus hero. Greg, I think Donaldson is being brought in as a short yardage bruiser. Buckeyes have a lot of tons of talented youngsters. My prof is in the house. Bill G does not like the Texas Longhorns prediction. AER does not like the Texas Longhorns prediction. Ryan Brooks doesn't like my prediction that LSU will be good, that they're going to make the college football playoffs. Ryan Brooks doesn't like it that I have LSU in the college football playoffs. I've got them number 6. Playing Oregon. Ooh, at home. Ooh. First round. And I've got LSU winning that game. Again, you know, I was disappointed, and I know you and I talked about it, Ryan, but disappointed in LSU's not being able to run the football. Just wasn't physical at all on offense. Same with Ole Miss. Claire, the next great Buckeye tight end, It's definitely now or never season for Kelly in Baton Rouge. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's all or nothing for Brian Kelly in LSU and Baton Rouge. If LSU don't get to the playoffs, I don't care what his buyout is. He's going to be in a lot of trouble. Lots of trouble. Anyways, if you're new to the channel or if you haven't done it yet, please subscribe. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. Go Black 45. Maybe we'll stop running the ball up the middle. He's not going anywhere for 2 more years. Wow. Go Black 45 said Brian Kelly will be the head coach of LSU for 2026. Still Austin. Craig Smith is a good coach. Utah Boosters never got behind him. Program never got the NIL support needed. The phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. Give us a call. It's an interesting story that keeps on clicking, right? That keeps on clicking. I'm going to take... Okay, hold on.
Call from
CFP Plus.
CFB Plus. First of all, thank you so much for the graphics. I do appreciate it, my friend. Thank you for your hard work. The floor is yours. Let me have it with my terrible prediction. You were the first one who saw them, so you must have fell off your chair laughing. Go ahead, let it rip.
Actually, I felt like your predictions really weren't that bad.
Wow.
I've seen more controversial. And so, it wasn't that bad. Will it be wrong? Probably, but so is everyone else's. But that's besides the point. I know I'm being a little facetious, or at least I tend to be, with the whole Big West expansion, because that really doesn't affect a whole lot. Mm-hmm. However, I just kind of noticed that so Tarleton State is in the WAC, and the WAC is not in a good spot right now.
Yeah.
With several schools leaving. And Conference USA, with the loss of UTEP, they're at, I think, 11 members. Mm-hmm. And I know Tarleton State was a finalist to join Conference USA before Missouri. They went with Missouri State last minute, if I remember that correctly. So, I mean, I have no inside sources. This is just purely speculation. But I wouldn't be shocked if we go to 137 FBS members with the addition of Tarleton State to Conference USA.
Yeah, that could happen. I know they were the program that was being mentioned with Missouri State. Yeah, that could happen. No question about it. Do they have $5 million ready to move up?
So I've heard, and this is all kind of just from the chatter I've heard, mm-hmm. that Tarleton State has apparently a lot of money. It is a agricultural school,
sure,
for the most part, but some of those ag schools can have a ton of money, or so I've been told. And I've been told that Tarleton State, they have wealthy alumni and a lot of alumni that would help pay that. Now, I don't know if that's real or not, but it sounds like they could afford it. It kind of sounds like a Sac State situation.
Yeah.
It sounds like they were trying to make a push for the Mountain West earlier, which I know the Mountain West is a much more prestigious conference in comparison to Conference USA. But Conference USA is a lot better than the WAC, which right now is not in a good spot.
Yeah.
So I think with the departure of Cal Baptist and Utah Valley, they're down to like 7 members. So they need to add more. I don't know. I could be wrong. I just kind of was quickly looking at it. But that's just something to keep on your radar. I know it's not like peak realignment content.
No, I do appreciate it, my man. No, it's all connected. It's all connected.
So that's all I have, is just be on the lookout for Tarleton State to make a jump up to the FBS level.
Got it.
So.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for the call. Thanks for your work today. Appreciate it, my man.
No problem. No problem.
All right. Beautiful. CFP Plus. Great phone call. We've got, I want to get through just another piece of news here. I see people talking about it in the chat room. So we might as well hit it again. The old news or the steam, couple legendary coaches talking about the possibility of ACC basketball and Big East basketball merging. Now, you all know that I'm not big on mergers. How do I say this? I'm not big on mergers happening because most of the time, and I'm talking about like 95% of the time, or 99% of the time, when there's smoke about a merger, big or small, in college athletics, when you're talking about conferences, like any conferences, like hockey conferences, like wrestling conferences, like merger, they just don't happen. They just don't happen. So, Gerald McKinley brought it up. Coach K and Patino suggest a Big East ACC merger. Amanda Krisovich. Just let me put this up here. How viable is a Big East ACC merger? In order for a merger to take place at any point in the next decade, it could require an unraveling media rights contract involving ESPN, Fox, NBC, and TNT. And I got to tell you, just that sentence alone makes me think it's not going to happen. The unraveling of media agreements between TNT, that's Warner Brothers, Discovery, NBC, Fox, ESPN, the unraveling of it all. Coach K and Patino recently suggested a conference merger. This weekend, Big East Commissioner Val Ackerman addressed the concept, saying she's appreciated the comments, that she's open to a conversation. When you've got two Hall of Famers opining about not only the history of college basketball, but the future of college basketball, you have to listen, she told Puck Sunday. I take seriously any idea around the future of college basketball, what it means for the Big East, what the Big East should be doing. Ackerman added she has great respect for AC Commissioner Jim Phillips, and the conversations have taken place about basketball. As football interests continue to dominate much of the headlines and much of the bandwidth of the leagues that we consider peer conferences. But they've had discussions. While the idea is gaining momentum, it wouldn't be without significant contractual hurdles from a media rights standpoint. This past summer, last year, the Big East inked a 6-year deal with Fox, NBC, and TNT. That runs to 31. ACC has an exclusive media deal with ESPN into 36. So for the merger to take place before 36, all four media partners, along with the two conferences, would likely have to unravel their current contracts and engineer new ones. And boy, that task. I mean, what are you going to do about the ACC network and all the basketball content on that? I don't know, man. I have my doubts. You can read the rest of this article. Amanda Krisovich. Again, anytime I hear merger, right away it's like, probably not going to happen. Probably not going to happen. But, according to this report, Amanda Krisovich, according to the report, at least they're talking about it. Or they're talking about something in regards to trying to improve all of that. Okay, let me open up the phone lines once again. I had to close it down. I want to talk about Amanda Krisovich for a moment. Phone lines are back open. 763-260-1333. Phone lines are back open. 763-260-1333. Give us a call. I'm going to check out something here. Hold on, everybody. Hold on.
Call from
William.
I'm sorry, did not get the name and somebody hung up. I just got your phone call. So I'm going to play the Monty Show, the bombshell in college football. Are the SEC and the Big Ten working on a coup? So I am going to play this here. It's on the Monty Show's account.
Absolute bombshell this afternoon coming out of the SEC and the Big Ten, as multiple sources have now confirmed to me that the Big Ten and the SEC are working on an expansion model to create a super league by expanding with the Big 12 and the ACC. Sources also confirmed to me that there is absolutely room for top-tier G5 programs to be included in this incarnation of a super league. That the Big Ten and the SEC have had, I am told, substantive conversations about, and I am told this program has real momentum. It is backed by private equity because it is going to create bedlam in college football. If you are going to the Big 12 and the ACC and you are trying to pry programs out of those conferences, it's going to be expensive. We already know that the Big 12 and the ACC and the Mountain West, amongst others, use a very similar grant of rights that is ironclad and very difficult to get out of, as Clemson and Florida State have learned the hard way, but absolutely a bombshell. Our sources telling us that the Big Ten and the SEC have had substantive conversations about forming their own super league for college football that would include members of the ACC and the Big 12 by expanding the Big 10 and the SEC. And one way they may get around it, multiple sources told me in the television industry, one way the Big 10 and the SEC may get around having to spend significant dollars to pry big universities out of the ACC and the Big 12 is by creating a brand new entity whereby these universities would withdraw from the NCAA and join this new entity. It's a super league. It's unbelievable. I'll have more details for you tomorrow.
I don't even understand it, to be honest with you. why would a new entity make it so you can get out of your grant of rights? I mean, it may none of that really makes any sense. Why would the Big Ten and the SEC feel like they would have to act now in creating the Super League? Why would they be acting now? Why would they even go into this? You know what? I'm going to go, again, I don't want to upset Florida State Seminole fans. I've been the one that has been truthful to you, okay? Just remember that. Florida State is an incredible brand, great university. It's going to get where it needs to get to. But I'm telling you, everything that Brett McMurphy reported, everything that I reported 6 weeks before Brett McMurphy released that article, everything reported in that was accurate. The SEC and the Big Ten are not touching any of these programs. They're not having first-party talks with any of these schools until they are able to get out of the grant of rights. Number one. Number two, the Big Ten are looking at these programs. They're not, I'm telling you, they're not.
From
William.
William, can you hold on for 1 second, please? Can you hold on for 1 second?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
thank
yes.
you. And again, they're not, as Brett McMurphy, his report says, I'm going to use his report because I get in trouble every time. The Big Ten presidents, forget about the SEC for a moment. The Big Ten presidents, they're not happy with schools challenging the grant of rights. They don't want to challenge other conferences' grant of rights. They don't want their own grant of rights or partnerships to be disrupted. They don't want any of this. Look, USC called the Big Ten, yes, they put the knives into the Pac-12, but they knew that USC was going to be out of the gore within 18 months, and the legal counsel said, go ahead, you can have first-party talks, and then that's when we broke in here at Peek Around the Corner. Like the USC in Texas, they were a couple years out. There is no way on God's green earth that the Big Ten and the SEC are having these Super League ideas to get schools around their grant of rights. It's the confusion. Like, is the Big Ten, is the Monty Show saying that the Big Ten and the SEC are going to take all the schools from the Big 12 and the ACC to create this Super League in some G5s? No, they're not. No, they're not. No, they're not. First of all, there ain't the money for it. I know you can bring up private equity. We think private equity is going to make it in somehow, some way. But the Big Ten Fox would only pay Washington and Oregon for half of the Big Ten payout. Half. Florida State and Clemson, the only program out there that if they were included in the Big Ten, that would increase payouts is Notre Dame. I mean, nobody is looking to establish the Super League except for private equity, big money out there. But somebody's got to pay the freight on these media payouts, and Fox and ESPN, they're just not willing to do it. I mean, look what ESPN just put it doesn't make any sense. None of this makes any sense. And maybe the Monty Show can give us more details tomorrow, but I'm telling you, none of it makes any sense to me at all. William, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Hey, Greg, don't you know that Monty is like on another level of reporting? You just don't understand. You
Well,
just have too small of a mind.
but that's probably true. That's probably true. I'm not very
You, you,
smart. No question
you
about it.
need to put some cheese on your sandwiches so that you
Yeah.
could get extra protein.
I
But
mean,
no,
yeah, go ahead.
he's off his rockers all the time. It's clickbait. I mean, when I first listened to him a couple of times, I'm like, oh, cool, another outlet. But he's just clickbait.
So my problem with, and I don't look, I'm not here to rip on other people's reporting. I mean, people unfairly have ripped on my reporting, and I don't want to do the same to Monty. But the problem I have with this tease is it doesn't even make sense. I mean, he doesn't make it clear what he's talking about, other than the Rudy Project, I guess. Tumastis says here, so the Rudy Project. I mean, I don't know what he's saying, honestly. If you're going to tease something, make it at least everyone knows what road you're going down. Go ahead, William.
So you didn't get a chance to talk about the playing games, right? You tried yesterday, but it didn't work out. I'm just curious. You didn't get a chance to give your opinions on that, right?
Yeah, you're right. I did not. And yesterday was a complete fiasco. I do apologize for that.
My comments were around that, so figured I'd bring that up.
Okay. Yeah, so I do think, William, that the SEC and obviously the SEC and the Big Ten are trading favors back and forth. We covered another part of that today, where the SEC wants that strict enforcement, the clearinghouse, rev share, all of it. They want it to be strict, swift fines and everything. I do think that the Big Ten and the SEC are going to get they're going to agree on those 4 automatic qualifiers. I do think eventually we're going to get to 16, but we might have a pit stop at 14 because of the heavy lifting they're going to do because if they go to 16 for 26, that's more heavy lifting, and I don't think they might not have the internal fortitude to do more heavy lifting because there's so many other things that are going on. But with regards to the play-in games, the chalk, William, the favorite is the 1 versus 2, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5. 1 versus 2, the championship game. Of course, both teams get the automatic berth. Then the winner, the 3 versus 6, and 4 versus 5. I believe the reports because we've heard the same thing that the SEC have talked about 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5. And the world that would work in is the world in which if the playoffs expanded to 16 teams. That 4 play-in games. So they've talked about it. They've talked about how it's going to work. I don't think they would pull the trigger on that if we stick to 14. But if we go to 16 teams, that means in a 4-4, 2-2-1 world, there's going to be 2 to 3 at-large bids every year, depending on Notre Dame. If Notre Dame is not having a good year, then there's going to be 3 at-large bids. And if there's 3 at-large bids, William, if there's 3 at-large bids out there, or even if there's only 2 after Notre Dame takes one, if the SEC number 1 team, which is going to be either 12-0 or 11-1, right? That SEC team, if they would lose to an 8-ranked SEC team, they're still going to get that at-large bid. They're going to get the at-large bid. Or if their number 1 team wins, but their number 2 team loses the number 7 seed, that number 2 team is going to be in. If there is a 16-team playoff, you have more protections. The SEC knows that their top couple teams, if they would lose a play-in, still going to make the playoffs, and then they have the extra benefit of the 7th or 8th seed team making the tournament. So if we go to 16, or I should say when we go to 16, I would not doubt for a moment that the SEC would pull the trigger on having 4 play-in games, 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5. But because the chalk right now is 14 teams, I think 1 versus 2, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5 is probably the chalk on how the play-in game goes. And let me add this, William. Let me add this. If there is a 14-team playoff, the real question that the chatter behind the curtain, and I was going to bring this up yesterday, the chatter behind the curtain is, what does the Big 12 and the ACC do? Because they would love to double up their championship weekend. They would love to have 2 play-in games. Would they have a 1 versus 4, 2 versus 3? Would they put that number 1 team, have them risk, they won the Big 12 championship because they won the regular season, and you're not going to have a conference championship game under this scenario. Would they risk that number 1 team to play the number 4, 2 versus 3? And if that number 1 team loses, they might have a shot at the at-large bid. What is the ACC and the Big 12 going to do if they have 2 automatic qualifier spots? What are they going to do for their championship weekend? That's the chatter behind the curtain.
So that was exactly what I wanted to hear from yesterday, because everything you said, I mean, I have a few more comments, but everything you said was exactly what I was thinking. That 1v8, the moment that I heard that, I was like, holy shit, the SEC, they're geniuses. Because in a 16-team playoff, that works perfectly. Just because, to your point, if their 1, 2, or 3 seed team loses, they're probably still in. And they get another team to jump in.
Yeah.
The other thing that it does is that when you have a 1v2, unless you have a protection for the team that loses, it can happen where your number 1 or your number 2 team just falls down, even potentially beyond the third seeded team from your conference.
Yeah, I think they would. I've had discussions about that. I think they would have a provision. If this all happens, William, first of all, if this all happens, if they change the championship weekend, I think what the governance rules that go with it is there's going to be a total deregulation of how conferences decide who their conference champion is in any sport, not just football, and how they determine their teams that go to into the automatic berth. So I think the SEC and the Big Ten, this is just me now, well, and other people, but if I'm not guaranteeing this, but I'm just saying they can make it where that championship game, 1 versus 2, the loser of that game, this is our second automatic team in going into the playoffs. Now, that difference might not have a difference, because we're heading towards the playoff committee. We're heading towards the conferences having the power to say, these are the teams coming from our conference that get the automatic berths. We have the power to how to decide that. Okay, so these are the teams. But it's still going to be to the college football playoff committee. They're probably going to be in charge of seeding. So to take it to your point, 1 versus 2, let's say 2 loses to number 1 by 3 touchdowns, and let's say number 3 team wins big over number 6. You know, the college football playoff committee might put 3 ahead of number 2, right? in the seeds.
Yeah, like this year's Big Ten. Let's say Ohio State did play. I don't know. I forgot who was the sixth-seeded team.
Iowa.
Let's just say the goal was Iowa, and Illinois played Indiana.
Yeah.
If Ohio State destroyed Iowa, they would have the same record as Penn State, and they beat Penn State this year if that scenario would have played out. So I think when you do the 1 versus 8 and 2 versus 7, assuming everything goes to plan and the number 1 and the number 2 team win, then within the college football playoffs, they get to keep their seed versus potentially risking it if it's a 1v2. So, I mean, agreeing with all your points that in the 14 team, they probably have to keep the 1v2, 3v6, but the 1v8 makes perfect sense to the 16 team.
Yeah.
And to go back to your, what does the Big 12 and ACC conference do? I think in the 14 team, they're SOL. They have to protect. You can't have a 12-0 team losing and be kicked out. So they might have to only have the 2v3 for the second spot.
Yeah, it could be.
And they'd probably be pushing for that 16-team playoff so that they can do a 1v4 and a 2v3. And then with the 3 at-larges, as long as their number 1 team had a 12-0 or 11-1 record, that loss, they might still get in just because of the 3 at-larges.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. We're on the same page. I don't know, that page might not be in the songbook, but that's the chatter behind the curtain. That was the buzz that I was going to eventually get to in our yesterday's live show, but we had some problems. So I do apologize to everybody. Thank you, William, for bringing that up in a phone call, so we finally got to it. I do appreciate it.
Yep, my pleasure. Thank you, Greg.
You got it, buddy. Thank you. Call again, sir. Ryan Willie, the Evil Badger, thank you for the super chat. Monty has been pushing this bleep since Florida State sued the ACC. Yeah, he's been a big Super League guy. He's always got sources telling him the Super League in talks and everything. I don't know. I just, again, if he puts out more details tomorrow, let me know what those details are. Send it to me on a clip on my DM. I'll take a look at it. If he's got this information, then other reporters probably have it. I just don't see it, guys. I don't. It makes no logical sense to me whatsoever. None. It doesn't. Years down the road, yeah, then we're we'll talk about it years down the road. Right now, I don't see it. No one has told me anything. But then again, maybe I've missed it. Maybe I've missed this big blockbuster story. Who knows? And if I did, I'll take the big L tomorrow, the next day, or whenever I need to take the L. Again, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Smash the like button if you liked our content today. I want to thank everybody who has donated to this channel today to help us keep the lights on. Mr. Bill G with his gifted memberships once again. Preston from Greensboro. Expedition Greg. Mr. Buckeye. Mr. Hoosier. Ricky Tungate. The Evil Badger. Ryan Willie. Stormy Cyclone. Kerry Gold Nose. Thank you, everybody. Everybody for your generosity. All for your incredible comments in the chat room and the great phone calls that we receive here at PATC. Want to thank Espetox, Michael Smith, Jose Opie, back in the house, Jameis Davis, MBM, Mr. Cowboy, coming in. I appreciate everybody joining us here. We're going to end the show. We've been on the air for a little bit over 2 hours. Thank you, Lord, that the internet has worked today. Again, it's going to be a busy end of February. It's probably going to be a very busy tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, They're going to be meeting in Dallas. I think we're going to wait to do a later night show tomorrow. I don't think we're going to be doing an early afternoon, mid-afternoon. It could be an evening show. So keep your head on a swivel. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you have your notifications turned on. We could come on at any time. We may have to come on in the morning if there's breaking news, but I don't think so. I think we're going to try to wait till later in the evening for Tuesday night special edition. Blockbuster news. The fat guy from Minnesota live show. Hopefully you join us. Have some fun tomorrow. Thank you for joining us today as we do Greg the Gold college football playoff predictions. The Texas Longhorns. Texas is back. Until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.